Hi everyone, this is Janet Wakeland with Remarkably Created. Want to apologize for sounding a little froggy. I'm still dealing with a little bit of respiratory gunk, but that's not going to I'm not going to let it stop me from sharing some fun and inspiration with you. Because other than sounding bad, I feel great. So what we're going to look at tonight is we're going to take a bit of an in-depth dive into Stampin' Up's kits. Now that Stampin' Up is releasing 2 to 4 new kits every single month, I thought it was time to look at ideas for using them, for altering them, for storing them, the differences between them, all of that kind of good stuff. So let's first talk real quick about the differences. The first one is the one that's been around the longest, and that's Paper Pumpkin. Paper Pumpkin is a kit that is available 2 ways. It is available by subscription, and you can subscribe to receive it for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. The nice thing about the subscription is that you totally control it. You create a password and you go into your Paper Pumpkin account and you decide, I'm going to be gone traveling the month of April. I don't need one that month. I'm going to skip it. Oh my gosh, I saw a sneak preview. I know that my daughter would love to come craft this kit with me. I'm going to up my subscription to 2. Any of those kinds of things. Of course, you can also cancel it at any time. So you can do subscription based. With Paper Pumpkin, something that people aren't also aware of as commonly is that you can also simply just decide to purchase one each month. There's a small savings built into the subscription plan. And right now during celebration, there's definitely celebration gifts built into that subscription plan. So that's our Paper Pumpkin. One other difference between Paper Pumpkin and the other kits I'm going to talk about here in a second is that Paper Pumpkin is a bit of a surprise. We get a little bit of a teaser, but Paper Pumpkin's been built around a surprise and happy mail in your mailbox. The box, 9 out of 10 times, is usually this fun red box. They do some exclusively designed boxes from time to time, usually around the anniversary of Paper Pumpkin or the holidays and things like that. The majority of the kits are card-based, but occasionally we will find things like ornaments or gift bags and things like that. And again, I do provide you with sneak peeks here on my Facebook group, giving you that time to decide if you want to skip it that month if it's not a kit for you, and things like that. The very first time that you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, you will get a clear block in your kit. And a Paper Pumpkin kit, just like the other kits, you're going to have a stamp. The stamp sets with Paper Pumpkin are exclusively designed for that Paper Pumpkin kit. You won't find them in an online store. You won't find them in any of our print publications. And then each one of the Paper Pumpkin kits is going to have all of the supplies that you need, with the exception of scissors and a bone folder, but it will have some basic adhesives like some glue dots and dimensionals. Depending on how it was designed by the artist, it will have some embellishments, some twine. It's going to have full color, step-by-step instructions. And then Stampin' Up also does a video for it each month, okay? So that's Paper Pumpkin. Available individually each month, available 3, 6, and 12-month subscription. And again, that's one of the kits that you will see each month. In addition, Stampin' Up has something called the Kit Collection. Both Paper Pumpkin and the Kit Collection can be found in my online store, janetwakeland.stampinup.net. The Kit Collection, Stampin' Up will bring into the online store. How long it sticks around depends on whether the item's seasonal, how fast it's selling, how soon we can get more from the manufacturer of that kit. There are different types of kits. There's card kits, there's craft kits. We've had small journals, we've had magnetic boards, we've had perpetual calendars, all kinds of fun stuff, and also lots of card kits. Just like the Paper Pumpkin, depending on the kit, okay, what's in it will vary, but it is seen fully in my online store. It is not, excuse me, unlike Paper Pumpkin, it is not a surprise. So everything that comes in it is fully known in my online store. Some of your card kits will have exclusive stamp sets, some won't. Some of them will have clear blocks, some won't. It totally depends on what is needed. The concept behind a kit collection is for somebody who maybe is just starting out and wants to explore paper crafting to see if it's for them. For somebody that just doesn't want to have a collection of a lot of paper crafting supplies, it's perfect because it's all inclusive, it's all in the box. Again, just a pair of scissors and a bone folder would be a handy piece for you. So for tonight's in-depth look, I'm actually going to use the most recent paper pumpkin because it's what I was playing with, some alterations of what made me realize that I should do this video for you guys. So we're going to grab the stamp set, we'll grab the ink spot, we'll grab the contents. I do hoard the tissue paper because you can always use tissue paper, right? Whether I'm using it to create samples, using it in Mingo boxes, I do hoard that. I personally do not keep these boxes. I store all of my stuff, and we'll talk about storage in just a little bit. So I don't keep my boxes, but I know some of you do. Turn them inside out, decorate them, do all kinds of cool things with them. I just find that for the amount of stuff that's in a kit that you might store as extras, it's a lot of empty space, okay? And I don't need to give empty space place in my studio. Okay, so again, hoarding those, definitely for me a plus. So let's go ahead and let's open this up and let's take a look, and that'll kind of give us an idea as we talk about storage, assembling, alterations, all those things that I just talked about. One of the hallmarks of the kits for Stampin' Up! Is that they do use Stampin' Up's core colors. So you're going to find our rich regals, soft settles, bold brights, our neutrals, as well as our in colors used in some of the different kits, which makes it very easy to do a lot of the altering that I'm going to talk about. So in the case of this kit, we've got some cherry cobbler baker's twine. We've got some glue dots. We have, oh my gosh, these are hoard worthy. I mean, and I don't say that very often. I try not to hoard stuff. I try to use it up. It's kind of that concept of, you know, waiting for a special day for your fine china. Just use it every day. Every day is a great day to use it. Every day is a fine day. But these are hoard worthy. Trust me, these cute little hearts. You have a sheet of dimensionals. And then I will put those aside for just a second. You have some envelopes. You have different pre-printed note cards. In this case, you're going to be able to make a series of cards. In this kit in particularly, you're going to have lots of fun, different die cuts, ephemera pieces. And again, more pieces. Some of them have foiling. You're going to have even more. Here's some more note cards. I told you there was a bunch of them. And this kit also has some stickers. Some kind of champagne colored stickers, as well as some foiled ephemera pieces. So that's what's in this kit in particular. And as I mentioned, there's a couple of other things in this kit. There is this piece here for those of you who want to keep and store your stamps. I know that some people will fold this in half, tuck their stamps, and then kind of file them upright in a little box. I'll show you in a minute another idea for storing your stamps, and then tell you how I store my stamps. Here's the instruction sheet. It is full color, step by step, very easy to follow. You actually don't even need the video, okay? So that's all of the elements that are in a kit. Before we look at all of the ways of altering these, I'm gonna talk to you about that here for a second. I'm gonna show you how I store them just to get that big bulky stuff out of the way, and then I have a whole spread of fun stuff that we're gonna alter pieces and show you some things. This ink spot is 1 by 1 inch. It's perfect for those of you who like to craft on the go, and it is refillable because it's Stampin' Up's core colors. It is raised. I don't know if I turn it sideways, can you see that? Making it really easy to tap onto your stamps without catching any edges. And again, it is refillable using the color. In this case, it's real red. So that's that about the kit. So let's talk here for a few minutes about storing. So for me, when I get my kit, and I know there's lots of different people, I do open it. I'm really, really excited to see, you know, the bling that's in it, the ribbon, whatever's in the kit. But I don't always put it together at that moment. Sometimes it's within the week. Sometimes it might be another week or two, okay? But once I've opened a kit and started working with it, I don't always make every single project that's in it for lots of various reasons, okay? In this case, 9 Valentine's cards. I don't have a need for 9 Valentine's cards because as part of creating samples for you guys with new product, I've made quite a few Valentine's cards. So in that case, I would pick 1 or 2 out, and I'll probably make 1 or 2, which I did for samples for you guys. But then I will have envelopes, and I will have cardstock left over. So I have just a little box. You can find a box anywhere that is sized to hold your A2 size note cards and stuff. And I literally keep them together. I do not keep kit contents together. Okay, once they're broken apart, I don't keep them together. I tried that for a while, and what I found was my mind went to, this kit was designed to make this thing, and I wasn't using them up. So when I have creative playtime in my studio, what I found helped me use my pieces is the way that I'm talking to you about storing them now. You have to know what works for you to help you use up what you have, okay? Because then we're just kind of putting our dollars in a storage system, not into crafting and creating. So for me, my bin that I actually have like this has a whole bunch of different kinds of note cards, has a whole bunch of different envelopes. And when I'm feeling crafty, I can pull this box. If I want a fun envelope, I can pull that box, and I have all of those pieces, okay? So just find yourself a box that works great for that. As for stamps, what really organized people use is some type of system, either a little filing basket, and they have their stamps in little pockets with little tabs. Some people use our Memories and More albums, and they tuck them into the pockets here. I personally just throw a bunch in a box. That's the one thing. I have a little clear box, and I just throw them into there. Because for me, I'll remember that something was a paper pumpkin stamp, but I won't remember, like, I'm not going to spend hours trying to remember its name or find it this way. For me, just having them all in one box, knowing it was paper pumpkin, I can shuffle through. Usually as I shuffle through, not only do I find the stamp that I'm thinking about in my head that I remember seeing, but it's that if you give a mouse a cookie scenario, now I find a few other stamps that have inspired me, and I'm off and playing. So again, some organized people use a little basket with little tabs, and they store all their stamps that way. Some people use this. I throw mine in a box because of how I use them. And then the other ways that I store them, if it's a full kit that I have yet to assemble, I take it out of its box and put it in one of these envelopes. And just to show you why, again, I mentioned storing air. I can put a whole lot more of these in my bin than I can of these. I can put, you know, probably 5 or 6 to 2 boxes, okay? So I like these big envelopes, and I can store my full ones in here. I don't put any label or anything on it. I can just flip it over and see what it is. And then the same thing for the ephemera. I don't sort the ephemera based on the kit that it came from, because again, I'm just looking for hearts or something like that. The one way that I am starting to theme mine now that I switched to this system, as I am starting to theme them, love, Valentine's, spring, summer, fall, holidays, things like that. So I have themes, and I can grab that envelope if I'm looking for something related to that theme. But it's really helping me use these pieces up, guys. And it's expanding my creativity. When I was storing everything related to the kit, once it was opened and I had leftover pieces, I found that I was not using them, okay? Because I didn't want to make that card. And so I found that by pulling them apart and storing them that way after they were opened, it worked great for me. So that's storage ideas for you. So now let's take a look at some fun that you can have with kits. So it sounds kind of like Fun with Something. It was a TV show for kids, wasn't it? So Fun with Flags. Maybe it was the Sheldon Show on Big Bang. But anyway, I digress. So you always can make the cards exactly the way they were intended. That's one of the benefits of kits as well, is that sometimes we're just out of creative steam. Our creative mojo is up and taking a vacation, right? But we have a card need that we need to fill. We have that desire to craft, even if nothing's coming to us. And you can simply grab a kit and make a beautiful project by having that. I also find a lot of times as I start to assemble the cards the way that they're intended, my brain is already starting to say, well, what if I did this? What if I pulled this in or that? And it starts to bring that creative energy and mojo back. So you can always create them exactly the way they were intended. And this is the way that the cards from this January kit were intended. Just as a side note, I always purchase extra kits every month. So if you ever miss out, chances are I may have one or two around, so you can always reach out and contact me for those that live in the US. So now let's take a look at some variations that I created. And I'll talk to you about how to do them, and I'm going to showcase some of that for you right here on the table. So here we have this fun love one. Got a little distressed plaid happening. We've used some of the hearts and the hearts for a background. Then we have this bee, and I want to show you something else fun about paper pumpkin. A year or so ago, Stampin' Up! Started releasing a coordinating die set that works with 3 months at a time. So this die set was released to coordinate with January, February, and March's kits, and it can be added on to any order that you're placing, or I am allowed to cash and carry these. So if you're looking for this die and don't want to pay minimum shipping, again, it's something that I have available that I am now allowed to sell to you, and you can simply reach out to me, again, if you live in the US. This set of dies is actually really cool because we have the bee and the honeycomb, which is perfect for all of that new meant to be scrapbooking products, and the bundle with the hexagon. And it's got this really cool large heart that we're going to look at in just a second. So in this case, that's exactly what I did to create this card. And let's bring in, I need this kit handy, so let's put this in. So you're going to have maybe a card front that you don't like, okay? Or a card that you're not going to use the front of. And in this case, I simply cut daffodil yellow cardstock, the full size of the card front. Now, in this case, you can see that it is exactly that print on the back, and I'm not worried about that, okay? That may bother some of you, and then in that case, use the white card, or you can also then sandwich that with white or something like that. I used the designer paper, this element right here. I cut designer paper down, and I did not use the gold side. I used the plain side. I die cut some of those hive pieces, aren't they adorable? And used a bee from the meant to be package of stickers and scrapbooking products and things like that. So totally just using the card base so that I don't have to cut, and just making sure that I use them up, okay? All of our cards in the kits have a white inside. The outside is always pre-printed onto the card, so you have that white inside. So I was very comfortable adding lots of layers here because I'm not adding any weight on the inside, if that makes sense. The greetings celebrate you are right from the stamp set. So kind of the same concept of layering paper onto this piece right here. This is the piece. But in this case, I wanted the little bit of gold, okay? I wanted that piece to happen. And so cut the paper down to make sure that it fit with inside the gold foiling, or it's actually champagne foiling, sorry about that. And just hid the heart with some of our Wildflower birthday designer paper. Layered one of the champagne hearts onto one of the hearts that are in here. And one of the nice things about your embellishments, your die cuts, whatever you want to call them, are ephemera, is yes, they're really beautiful on one side, but if you flip them over, you've got this really cool, nice matte white that, think of it as white paper. Whatever you can do to white paper, you can do to this side of your embellishments, okay? But I just simply used that white piece to make the champagne pop. Used a little bit of pool party ink to match the pool party here, a little bit of gold twine, and in this case, I embossed the card front. And this is one of the actual white note cards from that kit, from the kit that we're talking about here right now. For this one right here, again, can you kind of see the difference in tone? Can you see how different this looks from this? I wanted to kind of soften or minimize the background pink, the Flirty Flamingo of this card. So what I did was I put it through the new wavy embossing folder. And then I took a craft white ink, okay? I took a craft white ink and I just rubbed it across, okay? And let it dry. And if you're in a hurry with it drying, then go ahead and use your heat tool, but I just let it dry. Cut a piece of Flirty Flamingo paper. And this is one of these. This love is this, okay? And to achieve that look, you're going to take any of your sticker die cuts, any of your die cuts. And here you can see I've got two other variations of that. Both of these hearts are this foil. This heart in particular, same as the word love, I pressed down into the Versamark, got that real sticky and wet, sprinkled embossing powder over it, heat it, and now I have a really beautiful, and that will work with any of your embossing powders, you know, whether they're Stampin' Up or you got some other really cool fun colors in your crafting stash. And that's exactly how I did the love. Well, we're talking about altering stickers and things like that. For this one here, I wanted it dark. We're going to use that on a project, a complete project here in a minute. But I used a stamping blend. Now, the only challenge with using a stamping blend is this is a kind of a shiny foil surface. And it's going to want to kind of not bubble a little bit, but bubble's the best word I can come up with. It's not going to give you the smoothest surface. So I found for me, kind of coloring in a semicircle works. It gives it a little bit of a texture look to it. And it does take a few seconds to dry. You don't want to just immediately then pick it up. You're going to want to give it a few seconds to dry. So coloring it with your blends is another way to alter these stickers, okay? So that's another way that you can alter and work with them. These were the tabs from the greetings. And I just, this card's going to go to someone special. So I did put a lot of those hearts on it that I actually really want to hoard in the worst way. And then, of course, you can always use just half a card. One of my favorite things to do to stretch these card kits to make them go a lot further is to cut them apart. Whether I simply cut them in half along the score line. So you can just simply cut them and now you have two card fronts. Or whether I cut them down, in this case, I like a 1/4 inch border. I'm kind of status quo for the most part, 99.9% of the time, I'm always going to give myself a 1/4 inch border. But you do what you like and what makes you happy. But you're going to go ahead and be able to create a border. You also can take these once you've cut them apart. You can die cut shapes from them. You can cut them down even smaller. If I had wanted to, I could have actually, instead of pulling in some coordinating designer paper, I could have gone back bolder. You have the contrast of the light and the dark. So you can cut them apart and use them and stretch them and make them go a lot further. Now, before we talk even more about some other techniques here, one of the things people are like, well, if I keep stretching them or if I make these alternative cards, the envelopes in this kit happen to be these red envelopes, but I want coordinating envelopes. The next time you order with Stampin' Up, make sure that you add a pack of our basic white envelopes. There's 40 in a pack for something like $7.50 to your order, and you'll always have a coordinating envelope. White goes with everything. It's also very easy to alter and stamp on and do some fun things too. So I always keep white envelopes in the house, and I can always use these for fun gift packaging ideas, for treats and things like that. So cutting them apart works great, and then having those envelopes on hand is also a great thing. For this card here, again, remember that Stampin' Up! Has so many fun coordinating products, but this top layer here is one of those pieces that I cut down, and I think it's actually the red striped piece. So it's this diagonal piece that's here. I use the eyelet. For right now, I'm kind of hooked on the eyelet, and I've been using it for a while. You've got a bit of the country woods behind it. And what's really cool is this die, when it die cuts, like the hexagons in the Meant to Be bundle, they cut a heart, but they then also cut the extra scallop piece. So you get two cuts when you do this, a solid heart and then the extra. And then this piece right here is from the heartfelt shaped dies. Okay, it's a celebration offering, and they fit perfectly in that window. And I die cut it twice. Once just on a fun piece of paper that has just a hint of a print to it. And then once on white, and I slightly offset them just to have that white give a little bit of depth behind it. You have my heart. And then one of the other ways to alter the kit is something that we've talked about before, but I just always like to remind people of ideas and things like that, is that you can alter embellishments. So in this case, they're not pink anymore. They are kind of pecan espresso looking. And your blends are great for this. Depending on the embellishment, you may want to go darker than the shades. For example, maybe you're looking for balmy blue. you may want to go down to a different blue that's 2 or 3 shades darker, okay? When I go to alter my embellishments, I like to work with them while they're still on the release sheet, okay? I like to work with them there. And you're just gonna start to color them. Now, one thing that I did learn that was kind of new to me today, as I was coloring these, I definitely wanted them even, let the camera do its thing, otherwise you guys are gonna be rubbing your eyes trying to figure it out. Sorry about that. But I wanted them even darker. And these are clear, they're not matte. Matte will definitely really kind of pick up that ink and show the depth of color real fast. The clear ones, not as much. So what I figured out to do, and let me see if I have one here for just a second, is I kind of took that, say the word, Janet. I took that embellishment and I flipped it upside down, and I just kind of used, you know, a little tool or something to hold it in place for a second, touched a little bit of the ink to the back side of it, and now it's even darker because I put some on the underside. And the adhesive still worked great. It didn't alter or take away from the adhesive putting some on that way. So you can definitely alter your ink. So I have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me as well. So let's just play around altering a few more things for you. Let's set these aside and let's bring in something. So the first is, this is the red note card. Again, I cut the note card apart just so I have this card front. And I wanted to distress it a little bit, and in this case we're going to do a couple of things to this at once, and not this one, never mind. But anyway, I wanted to kind of make it look more masculine, and then distressed it a little bit. So because the color is printed onto the card, makes it really easy to take a sanding block and just brush across the raised edges, and you're going to be very easily able to expose that white underneath and distress it just a little bit. Works really great on our new two-tone cardstock as well. So that's how I achieved this distressing. So the next time you're out and about, stop at your local hardware store and head to the sandpaper aisle and pick up sandpaper block. They have different grits on them. This one actually has grit, like 4 different grits on it. And it's nice because I can hold it in my hand and work with it. So just head to that scrap of that sandpaper aisle and you'll have fun with that. Of course, if your husband has woodworking tools or sandpaper in the shop, in the garage or someplace like that, go down there and snip a few pieces off and then just fold it up and use it, okay? So then another way to alter, and this is what I wanted this for, and we need this for, your paper. So embossing folders, distressing it, something else that you can always do. And I'm going to be daring and not put down any washi tape, okay? Because I'm not going to completely do the whole card. But in this case, I'm using basic black. And some of the ways that you alter are going to depend on the base color that you start with. Obviously, putting pale pink, pale blues, you know, any of your pastels over this red isn't going to really pop. Putting any pastels over white, obviously with white, every color rolls, right? So when you're working with dark, if you really want the contrast to show, it's going to have to be something darker. So that's one of the reasons why I picked the black. And I'm just going to start layering that color down over top of the stencil. And again, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of kind of the look and how you can alter it. So here you can see, and in this case it looks fun just like that. You don't even have to emboss the whole card. So let's actually leave that right there like that. Let me set this on top of this, keep the black out for a minute, and let me bring in just a piece of this ribbon. Whether you use washi, tear and tape, just something sticky. I'm just going to grab a piece here. And I don't know how long I want this to be yet, so let's use the longer piece of my scrap. Oh my gosh, Janet Marie. Okay, so let's push all this up so you can see this on camera. And all I'm going to do is tape this down, stretch it across, tape it down. I'm going to take my blender pen and I'm just going to dye the ribbon. So all I'm doing is using that blender pen to dye the ribbon. So that's one way that you can do it. is by holding it down and coloring it. Another way that you can do this idea of changing the color of your ribbon is to just lay the ribbon on top of the pad, hold your blender pen, hold your dauber, or even just hold, you know, something that's going to keep your fingers clean, okay, in place. And you're going to just drag that ribbon through. Depending on how thick the ribbon is, what it is, you may have to pass it through once or twice to get the depth and the coloration that you want. Now, again, you're going to want to wait for that to dry. Otherwise, you'll get ink on your card and things like that. You can also speed the drying with the heat tool. Heat tool is such an amazing tool, not just for coloring, but in this case now we're going to have some of that black twine. We're going to have a little bit of a black heart, and we're going to be able to alter a card and put it together very easily. Again, stenciling, whatever, but this started out as the same, you know, card that's on here and the same card that's on this piece right here, but just giving it all those different looks. So then you've got still even more options for altering your kit pieces and playing with them. And a lot of these are reviews from other videos and things that we've done. But sometimes we see a technique done, say for instance, in a video on stenciling, but we don't think to stencil maybe my card kits or something like that. So sometimes it's nice to review those things. So remember what I said? A lot of these die cuts are double-sided, which means then that any way that you color, you can color. So whether you use pencils, you use pens, you use blends, you use daubers, you use brushes, lots of different ways that you can add color to these. So I want some happy yellow flowers, and I'm just squeezing the lid down across to the top of this. And I'm going to use my water painter. I'll put a little bit of water in here. So I'm going to do yellow here. So I can start to add some color. And then I'm going to make the hearts yellow. Non-traditional colors, because I want them to be kind of like flowers, if that makes sense. Because this is some greenery and some hearts. There's a little heart right there. Make sure I get all the solid hearts. So I can just start to paint. I'm just going to clean this tip. I'm going to grab some green. And the water in the lid doesn't hurt anything. I don't have to dry that lid out unless I had a huge puddle. But this is not enough to hurt it, because when I flip this lid over, it's not touching the water that's in there. The only time it would be upset is if I turned it this way, then a little bit of water might run down onto the pad. But because of the way Stampin' Up's pads are designed, don't freak out that I'm closing them with a little bit of water in there. It's not hurting anything. We've got a little bit of green there. And of course you could use blends or markers. Blends are going to give you a really deep, rich look, going to kind of give you a little bit of shading opportunities. Markers are great because they're, you know, dual tipped as well on fine points. You can get into some of the finer areas on here. But yeah, so coloring them is going to be an absolute another great way to work with them, okay? And then I'm going to finish that up and we'll post the samples of that, but let me hold them up here for you to see them. So taking advantage of that and starting to do a little bit of coloring on them, whether it's your aqua painters, your markers, or things like that. Then let me bring in these for you. So here's the three. Okay, can you see them? Can you see that look? Kind of got a fun little tie-dye look going on, right? So the original is this. This is actually this card. And then this is actually this. And one more, where to go? The pretty foil ones. This is actually this. The way that these two were altered was with a brush. Just simply grabbed the azure blue and just went to town with, and I just started coloring. and I stopped when it was dark enough and it had the look that I wanted. Again, you might contrast it with another different pink. You could even do it with white craft, however you want to do it, okay? So I just went to town until it was this dark and I was happy with the look. I did the same thing here. The only difference between this one and this one is when I was all done, I took a little cloth and I just rubbed the ink off of the foil. The foil will resist the ink. For this one, there's two different options, and I tried it both ways, okay? You can brayer your ink onto it. Completely cover it by brayering it. The other way to alter it, and let me grab this one here, and, well, I'll cut it after I'm all done and we'll put the card together. The other way that you can do it is you can take your ink pad. Remember, Stampin' Up's ink pads are raised up outside of the case, which really does help with taking your ink pad direct to the paper. And so in this case, I just kind of took the, look at that. Now, your card will be definitely a little wet, so you can heat it with the heat tool. But again, just kind of brush it on, and I can blend out the lines that are in there by just working it. And I'm just gonna kind of play with it a little bit. And don't worry about using up your ink, guys, okay? There's a lot of ink in these ink pads, but Stampin' Up also has refills, which are a really good thing to add to any Stampin' Up order during celebration, because you get rewarded for shopping. But again, I can change the total fun look just by basically inking out the colors that are there. And now I have something tie-dyed, kind of moody, kind of fun happening. And then I can put my coordinated things on. So you guys, when you have these kits, you're not limited to having to make them exactly the way they come. While they're beautiful, they're a great jumping off point. They're a great learning point. They're a great kickstart your mojo, emergency card making moment. They're beautiful. They're great that way. But there's also so many other fun things that you can do with all of the elements. Part of doing something with all of the elements, though, is knowing how you stored them, where to find them. So finding a system that works for you. I shared my system and why I use my system that way. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I think that a lot of times what happens with organization and organizational systems is that we see somebody's system, we think, oh, we're gonna try that. But then it doesn't work for us. You kind of have to know how you craft and what tricks your brain into being creative. And I store my stuff specifically to make that happen. I organize my studio because after almost 30 years of doing this, I kind of know what jumpstarts me and what helps me with my creative flow, okay? But again, look at all of those possibilities. I also am a big believer in trying to find ways to use up what you own. That feeling of, oh my gosh, I haven't used XYZ, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff I've never touched. I don't want to hear that, guys. I want you playing. My job is to empower you to play and to create. That's what I find the greatest joy in, is giving you these ideas to jumpstart you as well, to have you wanting to literally turn off the video, put your PJs on, grab coffee, and run to your crafting space. So hopefully you've been inspired tonight to work with the kits. I will come back to this video and I will add the links for the different types of kits that are in there. And if there's anything else that you saw, I will definitely link them. My crafting envelopes, things like that. I'll link all of that. As always, any questions? I talk fast. I talk with my hands a lot, and I'm really rough sounded tonight, so I apologize. So any questions, put them in the comments below, and I will look forward to answering them. For those of you coming to the virtual mingle this weekend, I can't wait, guys. It's going to be so much fun. And Sandy, those envelopes will be linked in the comments as soon as I get downstairs and pour my own coffee. Thanks, guys.